Hi, Yoav, and welcome to this week's Top 5 Security Facts. We're going to begin here in the region, where after the arrest of the Palestinian terror cell that ambushed and killed 25-year-old Israeli Yehuda Dimmitman last week in the West Bank, the IDF moved in to carry out its deterrent policy, destroying the home of the terrorist. Troops took up positions with engineers to map out the house north of Jenin and prepare for the demolition. But they encountered stiff resistance from residents. Reports say IDF troops were forced to respond with gunfire as they came under attack from a hail of stones and improvised explosives. In addition to the tensions around the West Bank attack, a 20-year-old Palestinian was apprehended in Jerusalem following an attempt to stab 2 Israeli civilians near the Old City. No one was injured in that incident. And Iran gave a show of force with its Great Prophet 17 military drill. The Revolutionary Guard and naval forces trained with missiles and drones in the country's south. Tehran says their military was training for an air defense mission, infiltration, and special operations, as well as combat operations in biological weapons-tainted areas, though it's unclear what biological weapons threats Iran expects to face from its current rivals. The Great Prophet exercise came just days after Iran said they conducted air defense training in the skies above their nuclear weapons facilities. The show of force comes about as Israeli military and political leaders have stressed that military options are still on the table to destroy or at least delay Iran's nuclear ambitions. And Russia is also preparing for military actions themselves, this time test-firing a cruise missile in the Sea of Japan. The Caliber-class cruise missile was fired from a submarine at a target more than 600 miles away in Russian territory. The exercise also included covert movements and support from other naval units, military aircraft, and drones. The Sea of Japan has been a bit of a sticking point between Russia and Japan since the Soviet Union seized the Kuril Islands at the end of World War II, and Japan still lays claim to the territory. This has prevented a formal peace treaty from ever being signed between the nations. And Taiwan is also training, but for a Chinese invasion. Taiwanese tanks and soldiers opened fire at simulated Chinese invaders in a beach landing exercise, showing off combined arms on the nation's southern coast. The operations involved air and missile strikes on the beaches. The drill was meant to showcase the island's defensive capabilities. But China was not impressed. A spokesperson for the Communist Party said that attempting to maintain Taiwan's independence by force was suicide. The Taiwanese army drill appeared to include massively outdated equipment, such as 1960s-era tanks. Taiwan is seeking to buy 108 M1A2 current-generation tanks from the United States to bolster its aging battalions. And speaking of outdated military equipment, we end in Panama, where ancient warfare is being kept alive. Spear throwing and bows and arrows. These are part of the indigenous ancestral games, an athletic competition drawing about 250 competitors from 7 local tribes seeking to preserve their pre-modern traditions. Many of these skills have been lifted directly from ancient warfare. In addition to the archery and spear throwing competitions, they include ocean swimming, canoeing, and sprinting. But participants say that modernity is no excuse for losing these skills.